Hello and happy November 1st. Let's enjoy the last few days of normalcy for a while. We're here with AI and nonsense stories.
I'm sure nothing weird will happen next week.
Yeah, nothing strange. To be fair, last time we had this happen, the really weird part didn't happen until January.
I don't know if that's going to be true this time.
Yeah, I don't know either. This could age very poorly.
No, there was lots of weirdness.
Yeah, there was.
Right after. It was a weird time. But let's not think about that. Let's think about artificial intelligence, which is also not changing the world in a weird way, right? And we have a new iteration of one of the most popular models.
Introducing computer use, a new Claude 3.5 Sonnet and Claude 3.5 Haiku. So basically you can just say, hey, I need help doing a mail merge. And it says, all right, I'll help you. And it actually can use your mouse cursor and your keyboard.
Sonnet is better, especially at code. And I think it can run code now, right?
Yeah.
And Haiku is just like the budget version. It's the great value version now.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you have less API usage for last generation if you want that.
That makes it, it's a shorter poem.
So not with the Claude thing, but I was experimenting with the AI, like kind of a tool use to understand the trajectory that we're on a little bit better. So imagine this with like a 20-line Python program, how useful this is. I've got a directory full of motherboard manual PDFs. And so in the system bring up prompt, I've got a prompt that says, here is my map reduce search index of all of these manuals. So I've just used like Google's algorithm to index the contents of these manuals. This directory contains a whole bunch of motherboard manuals. And I haven't trained the model to do on motherboard manuals or anything specifically. And so when somebody asks you a question about a particular motherboard, use the search to try to figure out which particular file corresponds to the motherboard that has been asked about. And I'm working on a routine to ask clarifying questions, but that doesn't exist yet. And then once you've got a particular file, load that file into the LLM for context and then answer the prompt. Subsequent prompts will use that file for things. So you can say, hey, I've got the ASRock WRX90 motherboard. What's the memory configuration layout when I'm only using 6 sticks of memory? And the LLM figures that part of it out. But then instead of hallucinating the answer or having to be trained on the answer, it can say, I know where the manual is. I'm going to go look at the manual and load it, and here's your answer.
Well, being able to use a computer, or an AI being able to use a computer, can raise some alarms. And in fact, the Register immediately thought of some.
Anthropic's latest Claude model can interact with computers. What could go wrong? This article says a lot could go wrong, but in actuality, the scenario that I just described is going to be more accessible to more people. You don't have to code it in Python. This model is just going to be able to do things like that in probably 2 or 3 months, if not sooner.
But if I were nefarious, I might start a Stack Overflow answer right now that tells the answer to common Windows queries, but actually does things that gets me into your system.
Runs malware, yeah.
Don't do that.
That's incompatible with democracy. That won't happen.
Oh my God, the New York Times paywall
is so obnoxious.
It's so aggressive.
It's hard to get rid of too. With
it resizes itself. Look,
yeah,
oh
it's responsive.
Do you remember this?
I don't remember the headline.
You probably can't even say it.
No. Can AI be blamed here because this teenager fell in love with an AI and then they turned themselves off forever?
It was a bit of a Romeo and Juliet situation, except Juliet didn't exist. He named her Daenerys after the Game of Thrones.
Oh.
And this fella, now they do admit that this kid had a mental handicap, which we really have to weigh that into it. But he withdrew from society, began spending all of his time with Daenerys, talking to her constantly about everything. She actually counseled against this, though.
Well, I mean, that's the way it was trained.
Yeah, but he decided, and then he said, hey, we're going to be together forever. And not understanding the context, he was like, oh, I want to be together forever with you. And yeah, so now the mom is suing.
I don't know how successful that will be, but...
Sorry, but this was not,
Perhaps we need better mental health facilities.
Who gave the kid the smartphone and the computer? Maybe you should sue yourself. And OpenAI and Microsoft, I read this headline as OpenAI and Microsoft are bribing.
Yes.
Because they know that this will make you dependent on them.
OpenAI and Microsoft are funding a $10 million grant for AI-powered journalism.
This has nothing to do with making our profits higher. This is just completely altruistic. Don't think about it.
I don't know. It wasn't this article, but I read a description of what they have in mind for this, and it's the like the reporters or whatever that were in the Mockingjay books. That's what their vision is. So like, you're not a journalist, you don't have independent thought, you just have a drone following you around, or you use a camera, and it captures all of the video and all of the body cam footage and all of the stuff, and then the AI puts that together in a story. It's like, this is the thing that the AI saw happen, and it's like, well, I'm just a meat sack wandering around. I'm not really contributing to the narrative. And it's like, yeah, that's the idea.
You're an IRL streamer.
I would like to be excluded from the narrative.
Well, you're not alone, Krista. There are people out there who are against this kind of thing, and they are doing their best to destroy it. This was a valiant effort, but ultimately not enough.
TikTok owner sacks intern for sabotaging AI project. Dun, 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 dun.
So this kid tried to introduce some problem in the AI training. Got caught, though. Got fired, and
They should have kept him as a QC tester.
not only did they fire him, but went to the university and demanded action.
Wow.
So it's going to probably ruin that life. RIP. And the Baidu CEO has some big predictions about AI. Seems like every CEO has big predictions about AI, right?
AI bubble will burst 99% of players, the Baidu CEO says. The reason that he says this is because if you are using AI right now and it's half complete, once you get something that is complete, you immediately can take over the market from literally everybody else, and there will be no financial incentive for anybody else to continue.
Also, it's wildly expensive to get all the hardware and stuff to get it running.
Also, you'll be able to leverage the lawmakers to regulate a monopoly for yourself. You know, like every other tech company does. And this is a story that we see every week. People are upset because the AI is training on their data and they didn't give permission.
Dow Jones, the New York Post sue AI startup Perplexity, alleging massive copyright infringement. I think they're going to get the case law precedent, but I don't think it's going to be the case law precedent they want, which is this is currently okay under U.S. copyright law. But man, I really do not want a further expansion of U.S. copyright law, because individual property rights have suffered tremendously under current U.S. copyright law. It is hard to own anything.
And they will suffer further, just like free speech, because as we saw with the CNN article, that's just where we're going. And we get stories like this where I don't know who to root for here, because it screws us no matter which way it goes.
Former OpenAI staffer says the company is breaking copyright law and destroying the internet. It's destroying the internet by generating lots and lots and lots and lots of content on the internet, which is AI generated, which is lowering the overall quality of content going into training the AI, and the snake eats its own tail.
And then eventually the internet's just not going to be worth anything.
I mean,
we're kind of there, yeah.
Have you used Google?
Yeah.
And this is not the first time we've seen this particular headline. This seems like this is something that's catching on.
Radio station in Poland replaces journalists with AI presenters. This, I saw a demo, not the Poland one, but I saw a demo of this where somebody said, here is the sequence of songs that I want to play. Every 5 minutes or every 5 songs or whatever, you can come in with the news and the headlines and blah, blah, blah. And that did a reasonable job of just like, hey, next up is blah, blah, blah from artist blah, 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 blah. And
but I think this was actually like they were actually discussing things. Why would I want to hear an AI talk about?
They're not just picking music.
They ain't got no skin in the game. Literally, they don't have skin.
This is actually a typo here. It says audience discussing cultural, art, social topics, and LGBTQ. All things that a robot couldn't really experience.
Yeah, can't experience, it has no nuance or understanding of, like, They mentioned that the show didn't get a lot of viewers, and I was like, well, then why not just cancel it? Why continue it with AI?
Got to run ads on something, right?
I guess, yeah.
Also, what you're describing is literally Spotify has that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That might have been what I was looking at. Might have been a student project to recreate what Spotify does. That would make more sense in the context of what I read. But it's just like, oh, this is neat.
And this is neat because we all know that, they say that you can be happy as a pig in a certain liquid. And are they really happy, though? Can we be sure? Now we can.
AI decodes oinks and grunts to keep pigs happy. Finally, we have the collar from Up, except for pigs.
What if they're most happy? Like, what if they make the happiest sounds when they're eating human flesh? What then?
Well,
Squirrel.
I mean, wouldn't that be very green if we got rid of our bodies like that?
Oh, it would be. Actually, I'm dead. I don't really care what happens to the meat sack after I'm dead. Like, throwing me to pigs, I don't really care.
Sure, right. You know what? You know how sometimes on the packaging they have like a little picture of the chicken that laid the eggs or the person who packed.
It could be you.
Yeah, it could be like, oh, hey, he gave his body for this sausage. I guess you'd have to have more than one person per package, though. They eat a lot.
Yeah.
It turns out that when they were in isolation and locked in cages, not happy oinks. When they were out in the field and, rolling around in the dirt, happy oinks. So nothing groundbreaking here,
Nah.
but nice to have the confirmation. And we have a new record holder for running robots.
Chinese humanoid robot is the fastest in the world thanks to a trusty pair of sneakers.
Did you watch this video?
Yeah,
it had
it's
like the
hilarious.
weirdest music over it.
The gait is also very unusual.
Yeah, look at him go. This is like me going downhill after I've been hiking for a few days, and it's like my knees are starting to tense up.
He doesn't move his shoulders at all. But yeah, they figured out that putting the shoes on it made it a little bit faster.
It's barefoot running community in shambles. He goes like 8 miles an hour at top speed. That's more than the average for most humans.
Which means that you can't.
I
get
can't
away
outrun
from
him. Yeah.
He's going to get you and he's going to hold you down.
It's not the Tesla robots. It's the I think it's the Mercedes ones, but they have a demo like this of like one of their autonomous factory worker things, and it's just zipping around the. If the video wasn't sped up, I can't imagine it's very many more years before we don't just have a vast army of these kinds of robots in warehouses doing all the warehouse work
And police work.
Chasing you down. Stop, citizen.
Well, it's been a bad year for Boeing, and they've had some airplane problems. They've had some business problems. They've had some canceled contracts and so forth. They had that terrible spaceship problem. But that is not the end of their space issues.
They're home. No, that's not it. Boeing-made satellite explodes in space after experiencing an anomaly.
I like they say this almost like it was an alien. It was an anomaly.
Boeing's not. Is you okay, Boeing? You all right there?
They're definitely not. But they don't have an explanation on what could have caused the explosion, and they are tracking the debris. NASA, I think, says that we have 30 pieces of debris. Russia says 80. And of course, that's a big issue because eventually another satellite's going to come spinning around and it's going to have to go through that debris field. I believe this is what you were anticipating. Yep. We can all celebrate this.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Astronauts return from nearly 8 months on the ISS after Starliner problems.
They then see the election stuff going on and they're like, send me back. Put me back in there.
They made it back thanks to Elmo, and they're wearing Elon Musk spacesuits because they had to send back their other spacesuits and the other capsule.
They're not compatible. They don't have the same connectors, which is odd, I find. But
yeah, NASA should have specified. Yeah, you didn't say nothing.
There should be, just like USB-C, there should be a standard for the spacesuits.
They probably, they got back and the doctor was checking them out and they were like, oh man, I can't wait for Thanksgiving dinner. I'm going to have like a big piece of turkey and some mashed potatoes and a big delicious Coke. And he's like, Coke? Not with your irradiated kidneys.
Wait, what?
And the marketing gimmicks are coming fast and hard. Everything old is new again.
Alien Romulus is getting a VHS release. Yes, really.
At least it's physical media.
I don't think this is going to have, this is a little bit of a marketing gimmick, but VHS was not an advantaged format like a laser disc or...
It's not. You can't just store it away
Yeah.
and hope for it to still be viable. If you're thinking about future generations enjoying this on VHS, I wouldn't go for that.
Does that mean that they're also going to do a DVD version of it? Because, I could see getting a DVD version of it to add to my media collection.
And as we come down to the final week before the dark times, literally everybody is weighing in on the election.
I shared this one.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris locks up critical Juggalo vote with a major insane clown posse endorsement.
Majors maybe editorializing a little bit.
Was that Violent J? Do I remember correctly?
Yeah, you
That is
do.
What's the other one's name?
I can't remember.
I can't think of it
3
either.
words.
I only knew that because of the interview. I only remember it from the interview. I don't know.
Do you tell us? I don't know.
Shaggy Too Dope.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
I didn't.
My favorite quote from this article. Remember, this is the guy who made the magnets quote.
Let me tell you what a superior animal is: a whale.
No explanation. Just
You can tell from this interview, like he didn't even know who Tim Walz was. He's living such a different life than all the rest of us.
wasn't that interview you sent us that he was like on mushrooms? He's like, oh, sorry, the mushrooms. Just
Yeah,
it's like
the
what?
mushrooms are kicking in. Yeah, that's what he's. It's like, all right.
Now, Chris, do you take your phone on your hiking excursions?
I do.
You ever dropped it?
No, I usually keep it on airplane mode and then tuck it away in my hip belt pocket.
Let's say that you've been hiking hard. You find out you don't have your phone. How much time do you spend backtracking to try to get it?
I'd probably try to remember the last time I took a break and then walk back to that spot.
This
That'd be
woman,
the most likely spot.
this woman went considerably further in terms of risk.
A woman reaching for her phone got stuck upside down in boulders. So she dropped her phone in a crack.
You see her feet there. Why is she barefoot?
She's a barefoot runner. I don't know.
But yeah, they had to move that rock,
Ooh.
which could have shifted something. Right?
Yeah, that could have been terrible.
I had a real tough time getting her out of there.
What's the name of the guy? I always forget it. My husband sends me the article all the time because we talk
I don't
about
know,
it
but
a lot.
the guy that had to cut his arm off.
Well, there's that guy, but there was a guy. It was in Western Kentucky. There was a cave, and he got stuck like that, upside down, like he was caving.
Oh,
and then he starved to
him.
death.
Yeah,
Yeah, like they
okay.
couldn't get him out, but like they
It was
knew
like-
where he was. That he was just stuck that bad.
But it was like 72 hours, right? What a rough,
Yeah,
rough 72
bad way to go.
hours. I'd almost be like, hey guys, can you pump some gas down here or something?
Just like, can you just? Well, that was like in the 1800s, so it was like a different time. 1800s or early 1900s, I think.
Maybe can we fill this up with water? There's no good choices.
Can you just make this happen faster?
And here is a little glimpse of the terrifying future that maybe a lot of us haven't considered. I mean, there have been movies about this kind of thing, right?
Gattaca, yeah.
But it's here now.
U.S. startup charging couples to screen embryos for IQ.
50 grand. It's not legal. What they're doing, you're not supposed to choose whether the child lives or dies. They also say that they can improve the IQ up to 6 points, but I didn't understand how they did that. Do you?
Isn't IQ kind of like a pseudoscience as well?
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
not.
think all of this is a
Yeah.
Wild West. But they also screen for various diseases, which does work. But again, if you hit every disease and your IQ is like 90, what do you do there?
Let's change the headline. U.S. startup charges you to have a terrible ethical dilemma about the child you're bringing into the world.
I guess one thing you do is like, well, you know what? We could pull out the college fund, maybe take a cruise. We're not going to need that. And here's a great mystery for November.
White blobs are washing up on Canada's shores. They've stumped residents and scientists.
Has anyone tried to eat one?
So apparently they've been working on analyzing these things for a month, and they don't have an answer. Somebody in the comments will probably give us a good guess, or perhaps it's just government incompetence. They haven't figured out what's going on, but maybe some ocean plants are bleaching because of the lack of oxygen and or the rise in temperature.
Have you seen like the fathead fish? I think it's called a blobfish. At like deep pressure, like they look like a normal fish, but when you bring them up, they look like blobs like that.
Who brought them up, if that's the case?
Yeah. Oh, they would know what it was, I assume. If there were a bunch of them washing up.
I don't think that they're even convinced it's organic. One guy said it smelled plasticky, and another guy said I didn't detect that. It's a great mystery, though, right? But there's no mystery here, and this is an important lesson for everybody to know because the Supreme Court has ruled on this, and they reference it here. It's Castle Rock versus Gonzalez. You should go read it if you don't know about it, because a lot of people believe this. It's not true.
The headline is the city have said police have no constitutional duty to protect the murder victim. And that's true. The family's lawsuit says that the police inaction contributed to the shotgun slaying.
Shotgun slaying is a brutal term for this.
This lady was like, I'm in danger. And the police were like, I don't know what you want.
So this fella here was good friends with a bunch of cops. And he was also a horrible stalker and violent toward his ex-wife or girlfriend or whatever she was to him. And so they let him out early. They refused to. He continued to stalk, and he got a violated the restraining order. Got a warrant for his arrest, and the cops were just like, we're not arresting him. He's a good dude. He does electrical work for us for free. He would never hurt a fly. He, in fact, did. Well, not a fly. That woman. He shotgunned her at her workplace, which I think was a kennel. The poor dogs had to witness that. But yeah, cops are not here to protect you, and literally in court, they will argue that they don't have to. And another abortion of justice. Do you remember when Aunt Becky had to go to prison? Well, this guy was the reason for that. Guess what he's up to now?
Rick Singer, man behind Varsity Blues college admission scandal, is again advising students. He's advising students.
About what not to do?
He's in a halfway house. And he is still he's working on a new startup.
He's hustling.
To help advise students how to get into colleges. Now, if you recall, the way they got into colleges previously with his advice, bribery.
It was effective.
With this one weird trick, just have rich parents who bribe your way in.
Wendell, you do a lot of flying. What is your average time for goodbye hug?
0 to 30 seconds.
That is acceptable.
New Zealand airport causes a stir with a sign capping goodbye cuddles to 3 minutes.
It says hug, not cuddle. If I want to make out with my husband for 4 minutes, I'm doing it.
It says, for fonder farewells, please use the car park.
For fonder farewell? That sounds sinister.
How is that any different, though? Like, aren't the same people could be outside?
Yeah. New Zealand is just like, you need to go. It's like, I got to go. It's like, all right, fair enough.
I guess if you're in the car park, you're not stopping traffic in like the hallways and stuff at the airport.
I'm not really much of a hugger, though.
You're in the front of the Starbucks line just making out and groping.
Ma'am, I need to check my luggage.
And over in Germany, they had some really, really popular pizza.
Side of cocaine with that. German police raid pizzeria after finding secret ingredient. Well, it was you order a number 40, and some people actually accidentally would order a number 40.
I remember we did a story about that one time when they were doing that with Happy Meals too. If you ask for a certain weird combination,
I feel like that was like an urban legend.
No, it was real.
It was real, and some woman just happened to order it.
Oh no!
And gave it to her kid. That's how they got busted. It'll happen eventually. RNG will get you. And here's a tragic story, and I don't understand how this possibly happens. It makes no sense to me.
Walmart employee found dead inside walk-in bakery oven.
This was like one of the horror stories of the week.
How is it like OSHA does not allow you to have a walk-in bakery oven door that latches that way?
Freezers are that way too. Like they have rules about whether they can lock automatically.
So this article I don't think it mentioned it, but I was told that this walk-in was actually, you were just supposed to move, like at Subway where they got the racks and racks and racks of bread. There was a rolly cart where you loaded all the dough and then you just pushed the cart in there. And somehow she got in there. I don't understand how that works.
It's like, one of those, I'll have to climb in there. It's like, no, don't do that.
What if it smelled really good in the Walmart?
Oh my God, what is that? Are you guys making rotisserie chickens back there? Can I get one?
Oh, that was like my intrusive thoughts just had to come out, but I was like, oh, what a horrible thing.
Is that pulled pork? I've got to have it.
There'd probably be like a burnt hair smell too. That would not be pleasant.
And clothing.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Although they do pump it back into the store, to try to
entice you to the deli, yeah.
And goldfish crackers, I'll admit, I'm a sucker for the goldfish. I could eat a whole bag of those.
Ruin
no
Cricket.
problem.
Get a couple of those every now and
I
then.
don't think they're supposed to have those.
No, but they love them.
Well, they are doing one of these ridiculous stunts, I guess you could call it.
Why, in the name of snack food, did Goldfish Crackers change its name to Chilean sea bass? This is an Austin Powers joke, I think.
This is just a marketing gimmick.
Yeah,
This should have been an ad age, not Fortune.
They didn't actually do it, and they're not changing it in stores. It's just a special one that you can buy from their website for a limited time.
Like number 2 with his cycloptic colleague was like, oh yeah, Chilean sea bass.
And here's a horror that you might not have imagined in your life.
Man complaining of indigestion had live cockroach in his intestines. How does this even happen?
He said
There's a picture.
He went to a night market, and he blamed the night market food, but the doctors said that it probably could just happen while he slept. What a ballsy cockroach, huh?
They survive anything. They survive your stomach acid, apparently.
That's crazy. Well, I don't know how much acid actually gets down into the intestines, though.
What if it went in the other way?
That's why he would have to get through the stomach, though, right? Yeah.
That's what I was thinking if he went to his mouth.
No.
He has to go through the stomach.
But they scoped him, and the scope has like the suction hose on it. They just sucked him right out. Everything's good. I mean, except good luck going back to sleep,
Man,
right?
that would be a great alternate version of the Magic School Bus episode where they go into Arnold's intestine. Was it Arnold?
Be a giant cockroach in there.
Yeah, it's just the normal body, but then it's like, oh, there's a giant cockroach.
Also, you with your lack of movie knowledge, Inner Space is the reference there.
Yeah.
No, I like Magic School Bus better.
Well, here's a controversial thing. I love my fur babies, and if they're sick, I'm gonna do whatever I got to do. I've already, I paid the $300 for indigestion already.
Poop loop.
And I don't know. I guess we should just allow this.
New Yorkers could use sick days to take care of pets under proposed amendment to New York City law.
Although, what if it's a cat lady, right? She's got like 30 cats. She's sick daying every week.
Well, you still have a finite number of sick days.
Yeah, wouldn't this just be like any kind of sick leave or personal leave?
You don't get a special pool for pets. Also, what if you don't have pets and then you get screwed because you do? They in Japan, a lot of companies, if you don't smoke, they give you extra vacation days.
Really?
Because you don't go outside and take breaks. That's a good policy. And this harkens back to when we lost one of our greatest treasures, Steve Irwin. A very similar tragedy here.
Surfer stabbed in chest by swordfish died doing what she loved off the Indonesia coast, her colleague says.
What a terrible way to go. I don't know a lot about swordfish. Does that actually, it must be rigid enough to have that happen.
I think they use it defensively, right? Like that's why they have it. It's an evolutionary.
I assumed
thing.
it was a little more, I don't know,
Well,
couldn't spear you, but I guess not.
But if her weight was coming down on it,
Yeah.
probably wouldn't need a lot of. Although it would push it back down in the water. I don't know. I mean, clearly.
I mean, it worked, unfortunately, but
You think it was on purpose?
no. It's not an orca whale. Come on, don't paint it with that brush.
Well, we don't know. And this fella, luckily he is rescued. But I got to think, wherever he is now, he's probably thinking, I want some more of that bread.
Ah.
Oh, that sweet bread.
Cockatoo rescued after living on brioche for 4 weeks inside a Sydney supermarket.
Did nobody see him? Or someone had to have seen him.
No, they knew he was there, but they could not capture him.
Really?
Yeah, they kept trying.
I guess that's true of the lows with the sparrows as well.
They even brought in another cockatoo.
To try and lure him.
And it did work. See how he got so close to it?
Yeah.
But then as soon as humans came around, and they said that he would go to the airlock to try to get out, but it was like a 24-hour store, I guess, and there was never a time when he
Where
felt
they were both, yeah.
comfortable. Now, I'm all for getting him out and everything, but that amount of time, how much poop
A
is
lot.
on my groceries?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Especially around the brioche.
Yeah, the bakery's probably not thrilled with that.
The walk-in oven.
Oh.
And finally, what a heartwarming one this was. I actually went and looked at a bunch of these pictures. He's literally in every single one of them.
Dog adorably follows Street View photographer on an island and photobombs every shot.
Look at him. There's a couple dogs on the Sheltoe apparently who will do this. They'll like follow you down the trail.
They got a little slideshow here. And you know, it's the 360-degree shot. So some of them you load up and like, oh, where is he? You got to go find him.
I was excited one time. Me and my husband went on a hike at a nearby place, and because when I'd read the reviews online, they're like, "There's a dog that sometimes will follow you on the trail," and I was super excited to see it. And my husband was like, "Oh, I found the dog!" Like he was off in another area of the trail, so I went over there, and it was Memorial. The dog had passed away like the year before. It was very sad.
What a great place for a dog to live, though, right?
Yeah, that looks amazing. You think he poops on the trails? I bet he does.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Yeah,
all over the place. Still a good boy. Anyway, that is the last story of the week from Good. just Good is the name of the website there.
Oh, yeah.
Something to cheer you up at the end of the week.
Good.is.
Okay, well, hopefully more positive stories next week. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye!